Now, if you've been invited to a wedding, don't expect a boogie on the dance floor. That's unless you're the bride and groom doing your first dance. Jane Werrell talks with a wedding planner about how she deals with changing regulations.
While the lockdown easing has been delayed, some restrictions on weddings are now relaxed. I'm here with Andrew Benson, who's a wedding and events planner, who's going to tell me more.
I'm Andrew. I run Always Andrew. I'm a London-based wedding planning company. I focus very much on kind of design-orientated, creative weddings for busy couples.
So what are the latest restrictions on weddings?
So with weddings now, how it works is, while technically there's no restriction on number, it does depend on the capacity of the venue. The other quite important one is that all food and drinks must be served to people seated. So for dinner that's fine, but for like drinks receptions, people are used to standing drinks receptions. So that's quite a big change. They now have to be seated for their drinks receptions, and all their food and drinks has to be served to the table. So that's quite a big one, which I know has kind of stuck a lot of couples and not too happy. And then the other noticeable one is that you're not allowed dance floors. And I think the theory behind no dance floors is it is extra space that could be used to move tables around in. But you are allowed to have DJs and bands. It's just dancing isn't really expected, you know what I mean? So not really allowed to dance, and you're not allowed to have a dance floor, but you are allowed to have music. Some venues have taken a because they know they don't want to be policing the no dancing, they're also saying no music because they don't want to be put in that position to have to police the party. It's difficult for venues because they're having to make a lot of the calls in terms of what is and isn't allowed. So you're allowed, the only dance that's allowed, officially allowed, is the first dance. I think they appreciated that that's quite an iconic part of a wedding, so they are allowing the first dance. I did a wedding at the weekend where we actually did the first dance at the ceremony venue because they did like seated drinks, and then we had like a live string quartet, so they did the first dance there, because then when we went to the reception venue, it was just a seated dinner.
So how have these rules impacted you as a wedding planner?
It's about being that voice of reassurance and going, okay, I've checked the rules, this is what you can and can't do, hopefully we'll be okay. A lot of couples just do want to be optimistic. They want to they want to be looking forward to their wedding, so they are trying to keep very positive, and we are quite positive, and we feel like that come July 19th, hopefully all the restrictions will be gone and we can have weddings that are as the couples have planned. And a wedding these days can be any type of wedding. It's not necessarily a dinner, ceremony, dinner and dancing, and there's all sorts of different types of weddings that you can have, and couples just want to be able to have the wedding that they want, the wedding that they've planned, with all the guests that they want, and not having to restrict on numbers, because that could be really tricky. If they're having to pick and choose, it's like reduce their guest list and that sort of thing. That's really difficult to have to limit guest lists. Even at the best of times, planning a wedding is stressful. You've got so much to juggle, so much in terms of like friends and family expectations, and have you got all like the right suppliers and everything you need, and have you chosen the right menu and the drinks and that sort of thing. That's there, and then you've added this whole new layer of, okay, what are the COVID restrictions? What can and can't I do? Am I allowed to dance? Am I not allowed to dance? When do I have to wear a mask? When I don't wear a mask? That sort of thing. Yeah, and it's just taken some of the joy out of wedding for a lot of couples.
Thank you very much, Andrew.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me.